Thank you everybody for coming. This event is Understanding Your Fall Course Schedule. My name is Debbie Aiken. I work in the Office of Admission. I'm here to help things go smoothly tonight. The purpose of tonight's webinar is to help students and family members better understand students' fall course schedule. We're going to also talk about what students can expect in their first semester and a little bit about first year advising. So I, again, I'm Debbie Aiken. I work in the Office of Admission as our Director of Admission Communication. I'm also a Petrol parent. My daughter is a rising, I guess she'll be a junior this fall, and I'm an OU alum myself, so happy to be here tonight. We're also joined by Dr. Kyle Williams, who is our Dean of Students, Brad Blitz, our Dean of Student Success, and Whitney Lewis, Vice President for Enrollment and Dean of Admission and Financial Aid. I'm going to go ahead and I will be moderating our Q&A. So if you have any questions throughout the event, feel free to message them to us or drop them in the Q&A. I'm going to turn off my camera and hand things over to Whitney.
Awesome. Thanks, Debbie. And hello, everyone. I know that you have received 10,000 emails from me. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep emailing you guys and keeping you in the loop. Parents, we do copy you on a lot of emails, but we would rather have folks feeling like they really understand what's going on in the enrollment process than folks feeling left out. Parents, if you don't want to be included anymore, just let me know. But I really appreciate you all tuning in. I know that getting your fall schedule can be super exciting and like so much to look forward to, but it can also be anxiety producing. And you really want to make sure that you have the classes that you need, that you're going to be set up to graduate on time, that you got good faculty members, that you're going to be able to get from one class to another across campus and not be stressed about timing. And we're going to help with all of that. If you remember nothing else from today, please know that like we are here to work with you. If you have looked at your schedule, if you've not looked at your schedule, no problem. We're going to figure it out. If you have looked at your schedule and you're like, I don't know, I think this is fine. Like maybe I want to switch a class or two. Great. Like we'll make sure that happens. If you have totally changed your mind from the time that you filled out your course preference form and you're like, I said that I wanted to be an English major, but now I want to be a bio major, that's fine too. Like we'll figure it out. It's going to be all good. So know that like that's why you choose a small school where you get personal attention. This is not like a class of 10,000 people where you're never going to get your email answered. We're actually so excited to have one of the largest classes in Oglethorpe history. We're going to have over 400 students starting in the fall, which is great. I encourage y'all to join if you're on social media. I encourage you to join our Ogle Class of 2025 Instagram. And you can get featured, and we've had so many like sweet comments and like great connections made there. If you're not a social media person but you still want to connect, we also have an Oglethorpe band group, which is kind of like a group chat. Yeah, so lots of opportunities to connect with folks kind of before you even get to campus. So we're all about building community and making sure that you are taken care of. So we want to make sure that we get to your questions. So what we're going to do is kind of walk through some of the big questions that we always hear about schedule stuff. And then we're also going to put lots of questions in the Q&A. So please use the Q&A and Debbie's going to be answering those throughout. And any big questions that we can't get to, or if you have something really specific to you and like your individual schedule, know that you can always email your admission counselor, the admission office, and like we'll get back to you ASAP. So it'll be all good. Okay, cool. So we're going to go through summer advisors, schedules, kind of what should be on your schedule. Part of why I mentioned that we have such a big incoming class, which is amazing. It's also that we're trying to figure out sections. So there's a lot of moving parts in terms of getting enough classes for all of you wonderful people who are going to be joining in the fall. So know that even if your schedule doesn't look perfect, if you're in 3 classes right now, for example, know that we'll get everything figured out well in advance of the fall semester. So I'm going to kind of do some Q&A with our 2 wonderful panelists who are the real experts here. So I'm wondering if maybe we can start talking about the summer advisor process. So like, who is your summer advisor? Is it your first year advisor? Is this going to be your advisor for all 4 years? Like, is this a faculty member? Kind of who is this person? So maybe Kyle, do you want to start with that? Kind of talking a little bit about summer advisors and what's going to happen?
Sure. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this experience. My name is Dr. Kaya Williams. I use he, they pronouns. I do serve as your Dean of Students. So I will see you a lot with orientation and other experiences, but did have a great pleasure of helping to navigate this experience for you all. What you will see is that your summer advisor is a combination of fantastic experienced individuals who love to work with students, and some of us don't get the chance to do that. And so you might be working with someone who's an admission counselor. You might have a faculty member who was in your prospective area. You might have someone who's going to serve as your assistant director of residence life or Greek life. These are individuals who truly love working with students. And so in this experience, they will send an email to you, will work with you, will review your schedule. And if there's anything that happens that you have a question about the fact that you're taking a core one-on-one class at 8 o'clock in the morning and you say, you know what, I am not a morning person. Guess what, neither am I. So I would definitely be trying for me as a person, as a student, to switch to maybe that 10 o'clock. So that individual will definitely be able to help you navigate that process. And also understanding that sometimes we are not able to switch classes because we do have the largest class coming in. But we'll go over that information with you. They should be reaching out to you soon and scheduling that meeting. And then once you have that 20 to 30 minute meeting, you'll be able to kind of talk through the schedules. This is also a good time to talk through, maybe there are some questions that you have that you may not have answers to. They can also help redirect you to find individuals who can help you with that. And guess what? If they can't, just email me. I'm your Dean of Students. I can direct you anywhere you need to go. So, and I'll drop my email in the chat because I know that we also have some parents who are on the call who may have some other questions that are not always related to schedules. But as things pop up, please know that your summer advisor is here. And then of course, your Dean of Students is here. So we got you.
Awesome. Thank you. So folks hopefully have heard from their summer advisor. If you haven't, don't panic at all. This week, we're going to make sure that all of y'all have heard from your summer advisor. If you deposited late, so say you just deposited like last month, or if you haven't yet filled out your course preference form, which is that long form, which has a lot of good info on classes. If one of those two pieces is true, you're maybe a late deposit or haven't filled out that form, you might not have a schedule yet. That's okay. We're going to work with you to make sure that happens. For the folks who did deposit by May 15th and they completed their course preference form, y'all will have schedules now. And then we're going to be completing the rest of those on a rolling basis. So like I said, you should hear from your summer advisor this week. That person is your mentor and advocate during the summer. They will probably not be your advisor, your first year advisor. But when we get closer to school in the first week of school, you will be assigned a first year advisor who is your go-to person the entire school year. So you'll get a ton of communication about that. This is a great opportunity to learn to just be on your email and checking for updates throughout the summer. I know that we all get a lot of email, but that will be a good routine to get in as you're kind of starting this college process. Okay, so I know that we completed the course preference form and y'all expressed what majors you were interested in, primary, secondary, tertiary interests. You also put classes that you think you might want to take in that form, right? And so our advising team kind of looked at all of those different pieces and put them together. So maybe I'll turn it over to Brad to talk a little bit about kind of what's the big picture when you're thinking about schedules. What are some things that y'all kept in mind as advisors that were important for first year students?
Thanks, Whitney. And again, welcome everyone. I'm really excited to be joining you. And my name is Brad Blitz. I am the Dean of Student Success. So I do oversee our advising process and many of the student success resources that we have on campus that you will use to kind of support your academic journey as you continue along your four-year plan. So I know that Whitney started by talking a little bit about the work that you've done laying the foundation with that course preference form. From the advising side, we're really starting at the finish line, which is 128 credits, the total accumulation of credits that you need in order to earn your four-year degree. Those credits are divided in a number of kind of buckets. So we have our core curriculum, which you'll complete throughout the length of your academic journey. And it really kind of lays a very strong interdisciplinary foundation and allows us to ensure that you are receiving the liberal arts education that you're coming to Oglethorpe to get. We will have a set of major requirements that are very specific to the discipline that you have chosen and will align very likely with your intended career aspirations or graduate aspirations. And then in addition to those, we'll fill out the rest of your credit load with elective credits. And those may come from additional courses that are areas of interest or courses that are not part of your major requirements, but still within that same discipline. And it may be an opportunity for you to just explore across the institution. There's also a lot of experiential opportunities. So you may earn credits for an internship or study away. So those will all help to kind of fill out your credits. With that 128 number, we again want you to be able to graduate in 4 years. So we would divide that by 4. We want to make sure that you are completing about 30 credits every academic year. So the expectation, even in your first year schedule, would be that you will have about 16 credits or 4 courses on your schedule. Each course, those credits are associated with the amount of time over the semester that you'll be in class. So if you're in a 4-credit course, you're going to spend about 4 hours in class every week. And then there would be an additional expectation that you're going to spend about twice that amount of time doing homework and prep work and studying. So realistically, if you're in a 16 credit semester load, you have a full-time job in your undergraduate education. So we also want to make sure that you are balancing your expectations in terms of living on campus and engaging in all of the activities that we have, potentially sports or, music or theater interests, along with work and family obligations and the amount of time that you'll spend in class. We have worked really diligently as a staff to make sure that we have thought about the courses that you identified in your course preference sheets. So we've included those courses if we can, or courses that are very similar in structure or topic, and then tried to provide you a really diverse array of courses, both in terms of discipline. So you may have a core course, an elective course, and a major course or 2, but we also want to try to balance the expectations and rigors of your courses as well. So we know that a course in mathematics or natural sciences is going to be a very challenging course. So we want to balance that with a course that may provide you a little bit more fun or might be more within an interest area and not necessarily associated with your major. So we did take a lot of time and care to look at balancing a course that would provide you the experience that we would want a first-year student to have.
Awesome. Such good questions coming through. So most folks, so like Brad said, we have, most folks are going to have 4 classes. So if you see on your schedule that you have 3 classes, do not worry. Some folks are like, I'm not in a core class or I'm missing a class. I only have 3. That's okay. We know that you're going to be in 4 and you might be on a standby list. Or for our core classes, we're getting more sections put up this week. And so you will be registered for that class as soon as the sections become open. For some folks, you might also have 5 classes if you have a lab. So almost every class is 4 credits, but labs are an additional credit. So essentially like STEM classes are 5 if there's a lab. And there's also some 1-credit classes if you are a musician and you're going to be in singers, or if you're taking applied lessons, those can be 1 or 2-credit classes as well. So anywhere between that 16 credit hours, which is 4 classes, up to 18 is totally normal and will set you up to graduate on time. Okay, so Brad, what I'm hearing is if you are say like a bio major, should you have 4 biology classes on your schedule? It sounds like no, right?
You're right. The answer at this point is no. So again, because we're dividing that 128 credits almost equally amongst electives, general education core, and major, we want to make sure that you are able to experience all of those types of courses throughout your entire academic career. So you're going to see 1 or 2 potential major courses, a core course, and an elective course in your first year schedule.
Okay, perfect. That's helpful. And what about modality? So modality is just the word that we use to say like in person or delivered remotely. Kyle, could you speak to kind of how many classes will be remote? Are we all in person? How's that working this semester?
Well, we just released our new vaccination policy because we are anticipating that we will be 100% back in person. And so that will be the major modality of all of our courses for this upcoming year.
Perfect. Yes, we're so excited. I know that some people do prefer online learning, which is incredible, but I know that a lot of folks, it is hard. It is hard to stare at your computer all day. And so we are so, so excited to really be back to what Oglethorpe is all about, which is small in classroom learning discussion, getting to really know your faculty members and having them know you. And they will know not only your name, but what challenges do you have? What are you really good at? Where are you trying to get an internship? And really facilitating all of those connections. So if you look at your schedule, there's only, I think, maybe like 2 or 3 sections total that will be delivered remotely. I think we have a couple of business professors who might do some remote sections. And I think for a lot of folks, that's kind of like a nice balance to have 3 in person and 1 remote. We surveyed a lot of students and they seemed totally fine with that. If you have like a huge objection to having a remote class, let us know and we can fix that. But over 95% of our classes will be in person, and you'll never be in a class of more than 25 people. So all of them small classroom learning. Okay, great. So what about majors? So I know that like changing your major is really common, right? So what if the major that you see in OASIS, what if like originally I applied and I was undecided, but then I want to be an English major, which I love my English majors. So what if I fill out my course preference form and I said I want to do English and communication, and my schedule reflects that, but my major in OASIS still says undecided? What should I do? Whoever wants to take that one.
Well, I would say if that is the case, when you meet with your summer advisor, you are able to talk with them about that process. And we will work with you in submitting the information through what we call the hub to make sure that we are going through the changes, and they will submit the documents to help with that process. The other aspect is sometimes you get into school and you're not an English major. You want to be a psych major or a social major, and that's definitely okay as well. And so you'll be able to kind of work through that with your advisor to kind of say, and it might have changed. Like you might have said you wanted to be a sociology major, and then you meet Whitney and you're like, nope, I want to be English. So, we can also work with that during the summer, but then also once you get in campus with your first year advisor, we can also help with that process as well.
Yes, changing your major is so common. So I think the average number of changes is 4 or 5 throughout a student's career. So if you are a little bit stressed or you're not sure exactly what you want to do, it is totally fine. I think the big picture is like, don't worry about it right now. It doesn't really matter what your declared major is, like what it says in OASIS. It doesn't matter at this moment what that says. The only thing that matters is that your schedule reflects at least some of your interests, right? One thing that I wanted to touch on is this idea of, and Brad, you talked about this. So your class schedule will have major classes, it will have core classes, and then it will have other classes. Maybe those will be another major one day. Maybe those will be a minor, or maybe those will just be elective credits, but they're just other credits that you need in order to graduate. So we have some students, if you are, say you want to be a bio major, but you are kind of just working through your math classes right now. So you might see on your schedule that you aren't actually in any bio classes. And you're like, what the heck? I thought I was supposed to have a major class. If you are a STEM major and you see that you are in Math 120 or Math 130, that is a major course. So I get that math is different than STEM, but because the two are related and you have to be at a certain math threshold in order to move throughout your STEM progression, those math classes count towards your major. So don't stress if you are a STEM major and you don't see STEM classes in the first semester. That is super, super common. So kind of don't worry about that too much. Brad or Kyle, anything else you want to add about STEM majors or kind of progression in that sense in terms of courses?
Yeah, I would just, reiterate what Kyle said. And if you have questions about major, your summer advisor or your first year advisor are great resources. Many of the majors that we offer across campus have more than enough flexibility for you to take a semester, 2 or 3 to explore what the university has to offer before you commit to a major. But there are some majors, as Whitney described, specifically in STEM, where many of the courses, as you advance beyond your first semester as a sophomore, that are going to be sequenced or stepped on top of each other. So the decision-making process we'll need to figure out fairly quickly, but your first semester is not going to make or break your ability to complete any of our degrees in a 4-year time frame. So we need to be thinking about it. You absolutely have lots of resources on campus, especially if you are undecided or exploratory. We're happy to have some conversations with our career services office, with faculty on campus who can mentor you and talk to you about the types of work and research that they've done in their own fields to see if those are of interest to you. So if you're not quite there yet, that's okay. We're happy to help you as you transition on campus in the fall.
That's awesome. And just one other note about math placement. So it's like, how do we place you in the right math class, right? Like you don't want to take a class that's too easy, but you also definitely don't want to take a class that's too hard. I am not a math person, and I would not want to be put directly into Math 130 because that would be way over my ability, right? So one, don't stress if you're in the lowest level math. That is the foundation that is going to set you up to succeed. But two, if you think that you actually are like, you're pretty good and you want to be moved on to a higher math class, then you just have to demonstrate proficiency. And there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. So you can do that through submitting dual enrollment credits. If you've taken calculus at Georgia State, awesome. Send in your official transcript. Okay. So it has to be your official transcript. If you send me a PDF on your phone, that was totally fine for admission, but it has to do with federal regulations and our accreditation. We have to have official copies of all of your transcripts. So we need your final high school transcript and your final dual enrollment transcripts. If you see that, you have Spanish 101 on your class schedule and you're like, I've taken 7 years of Spanish. I am totally proficient. I need to be in a much higher Spanish. That is totally fine. We also have language placement tests. So both information about language placement and math placement exams are available on our website, or you can email admissions. In terms of math, we also give credit for AP scores and for AP scores, dual enrollment, IB, and I'm forgetting one here. There's one other one. But the important thing is that like you have to take action, right? So you have to check in with us. If you're worried about being in the wrong class, know that we will fix it. Your schedules are fluid. Okay, so sorry, y'all. SAT, ACT is the last way that you can place out of math. I just remembered it. So if you have SAT or ACT scores and they're over a certain threshold, we will place you into the correct math class based on that too. Okay, moving on with questions here. Okay, so what is the thought process behind, maybe I am interested in STEM, but I see a philosophy class or a sociology class on my schedule, and I didn't request that. That wasn't one of the classes that I looked at, and so why would that show up on my course schedule? Whoever wants to take that one.
Yeah, I think the one thing about that is that's the beauty of the liberal arts education. And I say that as someone who's a product of the liberal arts education. I didn't go to Oglethorpe University, but I started liberal arts education. And I was a music major. And so I took sociology and religion courses and other things that really helped me have a wider view of the experiences and ways in which when I navigated into even my graduate program, because I didn't go to grad school for music, it was easier to also relate the experiences that I had into the work that I was doing when I went to grad school, because I had a good foundation from the work I did in my other courses that I took. So I think the good thing about that is it just gives you something different. You might out of that find a way that you're looking at either double majoring and or minoring in something. You might also find another passion that you really enjoy, and that will lead you to the work that you will do, as well as even finding mentors and other ways to network, because the job market also, once you graduate, is difficult sometimes. So the ability to also have other tools in the toolbox to pull out is also very, very important.
I think that's a great point, Kyle, when you talk about what's going on in the job market. So one of the things that we're looking to do is ensure that all of our graduates are able to write competently and speak eloquently, that they think critically, and being able to have coursework that stretches across a number of disciplines and within your major really is going to give you the best position as a graduate to seek the career of your choice or postgraduate opportunities. So we want to make sure that we are developing your skill set and your toolbox, both within the discipline and field that you've chosen, as well as across a number of areas. So we want to make sure that you are developing as students, as citizens, as global members of our society, and that takes a very interdisciplinary approach to be able to do that.
It's so true. And as speaking as somebody who hires a lot of folks who are right out of college, the ability to communicate well and to talk about your coursework and the thoughtful connections between your coursework is so impressive. It's like, if you think about careers, like there isn't a career in any one specific field. Every job that your parents have, that your friends' parents have, that we have, is pulling on so many different fields. And any given day, I am doing a lot of business analytics, a lot of communication, psychology, sociology, and more, more than that. I'm sure you all are too. So I think thinking about building that broad base of skills is so helpful, personally for sure, but professionally. Yeah, cool. Okay, so thinking a little bit about, and thank you guys so much for using the Q&A. We're trying to get through all of these, so don't worry, we'll address all of your questions. So thinking about course changes. So again, like I said at the beginning, maybe you looked at your schedule and you're like, oh, like this looks pretty good. Like I'm excited, but I don't want to take Spanish. I want to take German. Cool, that is awesome. Or maybe you're looking at your schedule and again, like, all of the classes are wrong. You want to change everything. Like, no worries. Like, we're going to figure it out. The correct way to go about requesting changes is you're going to meet with your advisor first, because there may be things that your advisor knows that like you just haven't been told yet, right? Or that you might not know, no problem. So after you meet with your advisor, you will be sent a link to a WUFU form. That WUFU form allows you to request changes, and Brad and Kyle and their teams are going to be fielding those changes within like 2 to 4 business days. So I know that everybody wants an answer instantly, and know that like we will get back to you ASAP, but we're just trying to work with a lot of students to do personal follow-up instead of like doing it in batches. So what if, I wonder if y'all can talk through maybe, so those are some like legitimate changes. If like, your interests have changed, what are some changes that maybe like aren't so legit, that if you see that the request come through, Brad or Kyle, that you're like, okay, I don't know if I can change your class because of XYZ.
So I think Kyle brought up a really good point earlier, and that is, thinking about the timing and organization of your courses, right? So we might not be a morning person, we might not be an afternoon person. I mentioned earlier the need to really balance all of the requirements of our lives, but stepping onto a campus for the first time is a really dramatic transition. I know that I've worked with a lot of students in the past who have wanted to block all of their courses. So they want to be on campus, only on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they're willing to go from one class directly to the other, to the other, to the other. And that sounds really great in the first week or two, but then you realize that you didn't give yourself any time for lunch or any time to study between your classes, or we get to midterms and finals and all of your tests are on the exact same day because they're all following the same schedule, and it gets really overwhelming. So I know that you might look at a schedule and see a smattering of courses throughout the day or throughout the week. And we really did that with some intentionality. So we want to make sure that we provide you the time and space to not only engage in your classes, but also in the campus community and, you know, with your new family and friends here on campus, and find some space to rest and relax and recharge. So you know, please grant us a little bit of grace in terms of the organization of those schedules, so you will have plenty of time throughout the remainder of your academic career to choose the exact schedule that you want. But give us a little bit of leverage this semester in putting that together for you.
I do just want to add, and thank you for that, Brad, that there are some times when a student might need accommodations based on the fact that they may need to have a class at a certain time. And so I would recommend that if you need accommodations, and accommodations are very, very important, if you have them in high school or you have them in another institution, they do not automatically go from one school to the other. So we do need you to go to our Office of Accessibility Services and make sure that you are filling out that form so that we can make sure that our wonderful director, Miriam Smith, can work to make sure that if we need to do accommodations that we can, to make sure that we are doing what we can to make sure that you are in the best situation so that you can matriculate.
Awesome. Yes, that is such a good point. And again, it's like every person's individual situation is different, right? And so the more specific information you can provide is so helpful. So if you're like, I can't take a class at 9 o'clock, we're like, well, why? Is it because you're not a morning person, or is it because you have an accommodation that is totally legitimate, right? So we'll work with you. Just as much context as you can give your advisors, that is really, really helpful. We had some good questions I want to address from the chat about math placement and language placement exam. The only folks who need to take the math placement exam are folks who are studying STEM. So dual degree engineering, math, physics, chemistry, biology. And it's really only folks who have been contacted about taking the exam. So if you've gotten an email about taking the math placement exam, then we want you to take it. We send you an email. If you are studying biology or chemistry and you have not gotten an email, then you're good. That means that you had scores, dual enrollment, AP or SAT, ACT scores that exempted you. So you don't have to take any action. Basically, we try not to email you at this stage unless we need you to do something, or like we're trying to give you updates. So if you see something that says like action required, like please read it and let us know. Ultimately, it's at your discretion. If you're like, I don't want to take the math placement exam, like I hate math, let me just take math 120. Okay, that's totally great. No problem. You'll see math 120 on your schedule and you can go from there. For language placement, some majors require a language and some don't. Usually it's just Bachelor of Arts degrees. So if you want to study communication, for example, you might need to take a language, but there's a lot of flexibility there. So if you're already proficient in a language, then we have language classes that are at a really high level that's talking about literature and culture in another language. So there's all different ways. We're not going to like make you retake a class that you don't need to take, but there's kind of some flexibility. Okay. Let's keep going here. I think maybe Debbie, if you want to highlight some big questions that you've seen in the chat or topics that we haven't covered so far that might be helpful.
Certainly. Hello again, everybody. We had a couple themes in the Q&A that I thought we could answer live. We had one question about a couple questions about the pre-professional tracks and how those work and how students might see that reflected on their schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. So pre-professional tracks, and this is the case at almost every college you go to, right? You can't actually major in pre-med or pre-law, but what it is, it's an advising track. So basically what that means is your advisor will know that you're interested in pre-med or pre-PT or pre-law, and they're going to help you select courses. They're going to set you up for success. And that will especially be helpful as you get deeper into your Oglethorpe career and you're working with faculty. So Dr. Bobby is one of our bio professors, and he's awesome, and he's our pre-med advisor and has helped so many students through the process. In pursuing a biology major, you are essentially on the pre-med track, and we will help make some other kind of selected recommendations about your career. The nice thing is for pre-law, if we have folks interested in pre-law, I'm married to an attorney, lots of friends who are attorneys, you can study anything and go to law school. And Oglethorpe is the perfect kind of school to go to because you have to be a great reader and a great writer to be an attorney. Those are really the two main skills that you need. And so our core curriculum is going to set you up very, very well to pursue those skills. But honestly, like you could study biology, you could study politics, you could study history, you could study comm, you could study psych, and all of those will be great lead-ins for law school and will give you, I think, a really interesting niche in your application to talk about. Brad or Kyle, anything else to add about pre-professional stuff?
So the one hint that I always give students who are coming in with pre-professional aspirations is within the department that you're thinking about studying, start looking at faculty members and maybe what they've done in their own careers in terms of research or interests, and connect with those faculty members early, because those are the individuals on campus who are going to write your letters of recommendation, who are going to talk to you about undergraduate research. So even before you have an opportunity to take some of their classes, it's really good to start building that relationship. And that's what being on a small campus is all about, is building a network, creating a community of support. So they're going to be more than happy to start that outreach and build that relationship with you very early.
The only other thing I would add is just to make sure that it's difficult when you come in and you're a pre-professional, but to really take a chance and make sure that your vision and what you want to do aligns with where you want to go. And so I think the ability to gain experiences and all of the experiences that you have at Oglethorpe is going to help you, and working with career development, doing some internships to find out what you want to do. I have had several students who've come in and said, I want to be pre-med, and then they realize they get into biology and they're like, you know what, I don't like blood. So the ability to think about, why, like your why, like what is the why behind it? What do you want to do? How do you want to utilize it? And then talking with other individuals, talking with your advisor, talking with the career services, and having those kinds of conversations is also very, very important. Like I said, I was a music major. I did not want to go to Broadway. And here I am in education. So the ability to think about, the breadth that you're also going to get, but also making sure that you are getting what you need as you move forward is also very, very important.
And I saw some good questions about like med school and law school and like graduate programs and like when do I apply and all of that. You have a lot of time, right? And especially if you want a really specific career, if you think you want to be an architect or a teacher or a nurse or a host of other things, you want to work at the CDC. Many of you will pursue master's degrees, PhDs, and professional schools, and all of that will happen after graduation. And actually, a lot of folks recommend that you take 1 to 5 years to work before pursuing those graduate degrees, because often they make the degree more meaningful and then you're more marketable upon graduating. So if that's something you're interested in, I love that excitement and maintain that and talk to your advisor about it, but also don't stress about it now, right? Like anything you major in, you can be an English major and ultimately go to medical school. Yeah, you'll have to go back and take some classes, but you can always redirect. So don't feel like you're pigeonholed into something, especially your freshman year. You got all kinds of time. Okay, cool. Debbie, other questions?
Yes, we had a couple other questions about what it means if a student sees that a course says standby on their schedule.
So if you've ever flown before, and I'm going to use this because we utilize it when we talked about the standby list. If you've ever flown before and you go to the Delta counter and they tell you you're on standby for your flight, and there's a list. Delta's job is to make sure you get to your final destination. Our job here at Oglethorpe is to make sure you get to your final destination. Your final destination is what? Graduation. So we are working with faculty, we're working with other individuals as we're looking at onboarding new course sections, new ways to make sure that maybe you don't get it in the fall, but we get it for you in the spring. But we are making sure that on the standby process, we know that you need this course. And so it lets us know that your gate agents here, right? The gate agents who help you get towards graduation, that we know that we got to make sure we're keeping an eye out for you to know how do we make sure that we're getting you to the final destination. And so that is our goal. And so if you do have a course that it does say standby, know that we are working tirelessly and feverishly behind the scenes to figure out what flight pattern we got to get you on to get you to that final destination. And so, and it may change. And I think that's the important thing. And when you talk with your summer advisors to bring that up, and we may already have a solution by then, because that is part of the process that we are doing right now.
That's such a good point, that like not everything has to be taken in your first semester, right? Like if you put a class down and you really want to take it, but you're like, okay, why didn't I get this? And like, I know I need it for my major. Like, absolutely. And like, I love that level of organization that you know you need it. But know that you might take it in the spring. You might take it at the first semester of your sophomore year. So know that there will be many, many opportunities to take the classes that you need. So there's a lot of different, just like in life, there's a lot of different paths to success, a lot of different routes. Yeah, so don't stress too much. That's great. Other questions? Looking at the Q&A.
Yes, we had a question about admission counselors versus summer advisors versus what comes after summer advisors. So a little clarification on that I think would help.
Yeah, so basically summer advisors are a collection of staff and faculty. So it might be your admission counselor who's been trained to be a summer advisor to walk you through your classes. And that might be the case. Or you might have one of the other two fabulous folks on this call as your summer advisor. Your summer advisor is basically your advocate over the summer to help answer questions about your schedule, but they are different. Typically, they're going to be different than your first year advisor. If you are so lucky to have Dean Blitz as your summer advisor, then you also might have him as your first year advisor. But we have a smaller number of professionally trained first year advisors, and those folks, their only job is advising. Summer schedules are always a little bit weird at colleges. Folks are traveling, faculty are traveling, but you'll get an email either right before school or in the first week of school saying, hey, here's your first year advisor. This person is dedicated to you the entire year. And that's really the only thing that y'all have to worry about. In the future, you will also connect with faculty members who will be really great advocates and mentors for you, walking through the specifics of your major. So it's really kind of this like 2 or 3 part process. Before you come in, you have a summer advisor to kind of help, and admission counselors can help. I can always help with admission and enrollment steps. Then first year advisor, then a faculty advisor will also get tapped on to help.
Great. We had a couple questions about College Board scores being released late this year.
Yeah.
People concerned about those getting in on time.
Yes, no stress about that. I know that IB scores come out late and College Board scores have been delayed. Do not worry. Basically, the same as like during the enrollment process where we were like, oh, if you get new scores or a new transcript, just send it to us. It's the same way. So as soon as we get information about your SAT scores, your IB scores, we will update your schedule accordingly. So again, if you took IB Spanish and you got a 7 and you did amazing and you're proficient, you might have more elementary Spanish on your schedule until then. But once we receive that, then we'll update it. So we will never make you retake a class you've already taken or that you've already gotten credit for, and you're not going to be late.
Great, thank you. We also had some questions about the foreign language requirement and people that may already be proficient in a foreign language and may have tested at the highest level. So a little bit of more details about that would be helpful.
Yeah, so those folks, and again, like I said, you're never gonna have to retake something that you already needed to take or that you're already proficient at. So if you are a completely fluent Spanish speaker, but there is a language requirement for your major, then you will be really lucky to be with Dr. Mario Chandler, who is one of my favorite people on campus and an amazing professor of Spanish. He teaches really high level, amazing Spanish literature classes that are about Spanish culture and history. And so those would count for your language proficiency, even though they're a little bit more focused on literature, but the classes are conducted 100% in Spanish. So we have the same thing in French. So we'll kind of accommodate that interest as needed. Awesome. Looking at some more questions here.
Yeah, we're doing our best to get through your Q&A. There's a lot in there. So if we don't get to your questions today, please know I will put in the chat. You can always email the Office of Admission. It's just admission@oglethorpe.edu, and that goes to our general inbox, and it will get routed to me or Whitney or somebody else on our team. We can forward things to Kyle and Brad if it's a question for them. So we'll do our best to get through things, but please know if we don't answer your question, follow up with us and we'll make sure you get it.
Yeah. I saw a question about if you have Math 120 and Math 130 on your schedule, which we just talked about. Brad or Kyle, do you want to talk about that? I can talk about it too. I was just chatting with a math professor about this. Okay, so at Oglethorpe, almost all of your classes will be one semester long. So like they go the whole semester, the whole fall. But we also have special classes. Sometimes they're 8 weeks. So usually a semester is 16 weeks. But we have some classes that are 7 or 8 weeks that are kind of specialty classes, and everything is super condensed in order to get you the material that you need. So for some of those special classes, you would take the 2 classes back to back in one semester. So you'll take Math 120 the first 7 weeks, and then you'll take Math 130 the second 7 weeks, sorry, tongue twister. And then you'll basically be math ready. You'll get all of those credits together. So then you can start your STEM classes ASAP. So if you see that on your schedule, it's not a mistake. Usually we don't have as many first-year students taking 8-week classes because like you're getting adjusted to college and we just want everything to be a full semester. But a lot of our students, especially sophomores through seniors, take advantage of those kind of like expedited classes, and a lot of them are offered in the evening. So that's a really great option for you to just kind of keep in mind.
Great. We had some questions about the dual degree programs.
Yeah.
And how that works with core. Yeah, and how students can get everything done.
Yeah. So basically, dual degree is one of our most popular programs. It's amazing. We have partnerships with Auburn, Kennesaw, and Georgia Tech. And essentially, we call it dual degree because the goal is that you get degrees from both schools, dual degree. And so at Oglethorpe, you will take all of your foundational courses. So you'll take core courses, and you'll also take all of your foundational math and science courses, usually physics. So for many students, if you stay on time, that will take 3 years. If you get behind, if you didn't come in with the highest math level, or if you needed to take a break, that's really fine. You don't have to complete it in 3 years. But if students kind of move through the process at the pace that we've set, then everything should be completed in 3 years. So the nice piece of this is that you get all this like small classroom learning and all of the kind of interdisciplinary connections of a liberal arts college. Then you apply to one of our partner institutions. Each of those institutions that I mentioned has a slightly different GPA requirement. So they range from about 2.8 to 3.2, depending on the institution. Georgia Tech is the most selective. But assuming that you meet that GPA requirement, then you then will matriculate to that school and you'll do all of your specialty coursework. So whether that's computer science or aerospace engineering, whatever kind of engineering you want to choose. Then you do that again. Usually it takes 2 years to complete that coursework. And then upon the completion of both parts of it, you get 2 diplomas from the 2 schools. So a Bachelor of Science in Physics from Oglethorpe and a Bachelor of Science in Aerospace Engineering from Georgia Tech. So I think the key part there is that we moved away from calling it the 3-2 program because folks felt really boxed in, like it has to be done in 3 years and then 2 years of the other institution. Many students do that and it works out great. But if you're at your own pace, if you need to work for pay, if you want to do an internship, if you want to study abroad, if you're an athlete, if you have other priorities that maybe you want to free up your schedule, that is totally fine. And you can work at your own pace.
And a lot of that goes for the education dual degree program as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's see what else we have in here. So there's a question about overload, like taking more than 4 classes. That's a good question we can answer live.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically as a first-year student, There are some cases where you would take that 5 because you're in singers or you're in a lab. So like that would be 5 classes. But typically for first year students, we don't recommend taking more than 5. There's a lot of us, not just us, there's a lot of research to suggest that that's not necessarily best practice because folks are acclimating to college, and college level courses are trickier, more complex, more work than high school classes, right? So I know that many of you have done an amazing job balancing 6, 7, 8 classes in high school, which is bonkers. Like that's amazing and well done. But you will be able to really focus in on those 4 classes. Later in your Oglethorpe career, if for some reason like you miss a class, you want to catch up, you can take summer school, or you can overload and take 5 classes in a certain semester, and that's totally fine. And we'll work with your advisor and make sure that that works for your schedule.
Whitney, I reiterate just to understand about that overload, like the adjustment from high school.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. And I say that as someone, like I went to a prep high school, but that jump, it was overwhelming. Plus, you're going to have all these great people around you, all these great things you're going to be doing. Like you want to make sure you have that time to enjoy your college experience.
You want to enjoy it, and you also want to build your resume doing other stuff, right? Like again, if you're talking to a future employer or an internship provider, if it's like, well, I take my classes, that's all I do. That's all I do. I just go to class. Like it's super impressive if you are committed to your academics and thinking about leadership opportunities, thinking about ways to volunteer in Atlanta, thinking about ways to get connected, to do research, to work on your own independent projects, to pursue the honors program. There's so many opportunities to do student organizations and student government. That stuff is so impressive. It's so impressive. And it's great for you to develop those skills, but really, really that builds out your resume in a super meaningful way. So I was a super big nerd in college and like was very committed to like just doing my classes. And that's the biggest regret that I have, is that I wasn't more involved in stuff outside of school, because I think I did miss out on that. So I would really encourage you to kind of think of outside of just the classroom, kind of what you're excited about.
Thank you. We got some questions about books and course materials. And now that students know what classes they're taking, what can they do to prepare?
Absolutely. So don't stress. You don't have to buy your books now. So many faculty members won't post their syllabus or book lists until school starts. So you are not behind if you don't have your books on the first day of school. I'll say it again. You're not behind if you don't have your books on the first day of school. It's totally okay. Most faculty will release their syllabus, which is just like a document outlining the semester. They'll release that on the first day of school, and it will have your books listed there. You can get your books online. You'll get a ton of information about that at orientation. And you can also rent your books from the library. You can usually buy books from future or past students who have already taken the class. But that parking, there's a bunch of other stuff, or like IDs. I saw some questions about like your P-Roll pass. There's information about sending in your P-Roll pass picture that we'll send to you. But don't worry about having those things. Like you're not behind if you don't have all those in place when on the first day of class. And Kyle is our Dean Williams is our orientation maven. He can tell, maybe you guys can talk a little bit about kind of what to expect at orientation for folks as they get excited over the summer.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I think the greatest thing about it is, and I love this, talking about the fact that on August 27th, let me tell you, okay, like we are rolling out the red carpet for all of our new P-Rolls. We are welcoming back, not only welcoming you to our campus, but we're welcoming back our faculty and staff to our campus. We're welcoming the class of 2024 to our campus. Like we are doing giveaways. Like I just got an email that told me that everyone's going to get a real big umbrella, like the golf size umbrella, not the little one. I'm talking about the one that you can walk across campus with and your backpack doesn't get wet and your beautiful shoes you wear don't get wet either. So all that information will be coming out. I'm working really fast and ironing some things out with my team. Understanding that we're still navigating space restrictions, but the information is coming soon. And the ability for you to know what's going on means you have to stay tuned to your email, your OU email at that. And the orientation website. So the information will be coming. I will tell you probably around a beautiful holiday that's coming up. So please stay tuned.
I'm so excited to have people back on campus, y'all. It has been so sad being remote for this long, and we are pumped to have you all on campus in person. It's going to be really great. Okay, I'm going through answering some more questions here.
Yeah, Whitney, another good
yeah.
one that's probably good for everybody to hear is the difference between a BA and a BS and how students know which one their major is in.
That is such a good question. So Bachelor of Arts is BA. So typically, and it's a little bit confusing because it's like, well, I didn't study art. It's kind of like liberal arts, right? It's a little bit of a misnomer. So if you are studying like English, for example, or theater, that will be a Bachelor of Arts degree. Bachelor of Science could be things like, yes, STEM, chemistry, or biology, but it also is Bachelor of Science in Business Administration or psychology. Don't worry too much about if you have a BA or a BS. It kind of doesn't matter. I don't know, Dean Blitz or Dean Williams, do you disagree with me on that? Or any other information you guys would provide about BA or BS? Yeah, it really is. It's like a formal designation that kind of goes, it's a big historical association with the colleges. And it has to do with like how we classify degrees. But ultimately, I would say employers don't care BA or BS, and they also really don't care what you majored in. If you are a thoughtful person and you're dynamic and you are a critical thinker, they don't care. I don't care. I have folks on my staff who majored in biopsychology, who are pre-med, folks who are English majors and history majors and psych majors and sociology majors, and they're all so good at their jobs because it doesn't really matter. It doesn't always matter what you major in. But yeah, other thoughts on that, guys?
Sorry, I was typing answers in the Q&A. You might have already said this, but the BS generally has a more of a math component. So if people are in a BA, they might have to take, they will have to take that one required math core course, which scares a lot of people, but don't be scared. It's designed for non-math majors. And one of our longest tenured professors, Lynn Gigger, took a sabbatical a few years ago to revamp the course. And she is the most passionate math person I've ever met. And she really tried hard to make it palatable for non-math majors. So we are closing in here on the end of our event here. We're gonna do our best to get a couple things out here in the Q&A, but please remember, I'll send it right now, actually, admission@oglethorpe.edu. Please send any questions we didn't get to that email address and we'll get them to the right person. If you think of something crazy, you want to know more about your dorm, you want to talk to a current student, we have groups of students working in admissions and advising and campus life who are ready to hop on a Zoom call or hop on a phone call. If you live near campus and you want to come for a campus visit, please do so. There's literally hundreds of people who are so excited to meet you. So we can't wait for you to come this fall. Thank you everybody so much for coming tonight. And then Whitney, I'll pass it over to you for any, and Kyle and Brad for any other parting words.
No, this was so great. Thank you all so much for engaging with us on the Q&A. I know it's hard to listen to talking heads and we talk fast, but if you need this information, like Debbie said, we are here for you. There's no like critical piece of information that folks are only going to say one time. So stay on top of your email, stay in touch with us, know that we care about you and we're going to work through any issues that you have. We're going to make sure you're feeling confident and great about the upcoming semester and school year. Awesome. Well, I think we will sign off here and be respectful of people's time. But thank you all so much. This was great and we'll stay in touch.